Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. This is the first time where we really start to pull it together. Do go to those previous talks on healthy seminars. Um, they're focusing on, like I was saying, specific points and going into all the research on those points, and so we can get a really interesting picture of exactly what the points are doing. Today, we're going to start putting that together and see how that's working with different pathologies. So, yeah, first one we thought we'd start with musculoskeletal conditions. Um, the reason being, it's the most common conditions in the world. Um, Something like 1.7 billion people on the planet suffer from musculoskeletal conditions. It's also the most common thing we see in the clinic. So, yeah, I think to learn how we can talk to patients, other practitioners, and perhaps even policymakers in the future, not just understanding the pathology of their conditions, so they can get confidence when we're diagnosing, but also explaining how acupuncture works from that biomedical standpoint is just, it's going to put us in such a better position. Um, yeah, I do worry for the future of traditional acupuncturists. Acupuncture will survive. The research is only getting better and better and getting more and more attention. Um, it would be nice with all of our training if we got to stay in the game as well. Um, so yeah, we're going to be going and looking at all these different biomechanisms. We're going to be looking at how needling can modulate the pain pathways, inflammation, tissue healing, and motor control. And we're going to, in this talk, look at it through the lens of three big and key musculoskeletal conditions. So, osteoarthritis, chronic lower back pain, and tendinopathy. Um, they're good lenses to look at because they will have slightly different pathology underlying. And so it also highlights how we need to adapt our approach to treating them with the needles. Obviously, there's other things we can use. We're just going to be focusing on needles today. Um, and yeah, we're going to be looking at how we stack those functions, those biomechanical functions that we know the points do, and then how we can talk to that to, yeah, patients, other practitioners, and hopefully policymakers. So it's, yeah, learning a new, well, hopefully not new. Hopefully a lot of you are already at least somewhat versed in this, but shifting from traditional Chinese medicine descriptions, patterns, disorders into network modulation. We know we're complex beings. Our medicine is always already a systems approach. It's just shifting the way we talk. I'm not saying getting rid of our tradition. It's fantastic, but just I think it can make it more accessible to more people, and I think that's only a good thing. Um, so yeah, these are the five learning objectives from today. Uh, we're going to be, or I'm going to be, doing my best to explain the underlying pathology of musculoskeletal conditions from a biomedical standpoint, the core biomechanisms through which acupuncture works for musculoskeletal pain, and again, in those three conditions, identifying key acupuncture points and their functional roles in musculoskeletal conditions, and constructing effective point combinations based on stacking those mechanisms. Um, and then we'll have a bit of a chat about communicating acupuncture and how we might just do that slightly differently with different people, different groups. Okay, so we're going to dive straight in. Osteoarthritis. Now, historically, people thought of osteoarthritis more as a simple wear and tear condition. Um, that's certainly a part truth, but in no way, as in most things in medicine, is no way is it that simple. It's a disease of the entire joint involving the cartilage, inflammation, bone remodeling, and nervous system sensitization. Um, so we're going to go through all those, and hopefully that will give you a much clearer understanding of what's going on and how we can approach it differently and why it presents differently in different people as well. So, healthy cartilage, as we know, acts like a shock absorber. It's made of a collagen framework filled with water, proteoglycans, and that allows it to withstand enormous compressive force. So you think like if you're running on concrete and your knee is basically jarring, um, that's fine. We've got cartilage; it can survive that. Um, However, in osteoarthritis, the cells responsible for maintaining that cartilage, the chondrocytes, become dysregulated. They begin to produce destructive enzymes called matrix metalloproteinases, or MMPs, um, as you can see there. Uh, and those enzymes break down collagen, they degrade the proteoglycans, and they accelerate the cartilage loss. Um, And so yeah, it starts this kind of negative feedback loop where it's just breaking it down and speeding up that breakdown um, with these enzymes. There is also low grade inflammation in this, and there are two major inflammatory messengers driving this process: tumor necrosis factor alpha and interleukin 1 beta. Hopefully, those of you that will come into the previous talks have come across these. They were evidenced in a lot of the points. Um, but they're essentially biological amplifiers. They tell the chondrocytes to produce even more of the MMPs, and they inhibit the repair mechanisms, and they promote pain signaling. So again, they further this degradation um, and increase pain. So it's a bit like having demolition workers inside the cartilage that are also preventing the repair crew from entering, and they're just causing havoc. They're making a big mess and causing a lot of pain. Um, so the joint isn't simply wearing out; it's being actively broken down by inflammatory and degradative signaling. Now, with low-grade inflammation, for many years, osteoarthritis wasn't really considered that inflammatory because it didn't produce the kind of inflammation we see like in rheumatoid arthritis. Um, but it is inflammatory. It's just very chronic, low grade, and more localized inflammation. So the synovium uh, is inflamed, and the cartilage environment and the joint capsule. And these tissues are releasing those inflammatory cytokines, the tumor necrosis factor alpha, the interleukin 1 beta, the interleukin 6, and prostaglandins. And this inflammation contributes directly to both the disease progression and pain. So patients often think that their knees are hurting because the cartilage is worn away, when actually the pain is coming from the inflamed tissues inside the joint. Um, and it's why sometimes on X-rays you might actually see that the symptoms don't necessarily correlate with the physiology. You can have some patients where actually their cartilage isn't too bad, but the pain levels are really high, and vice versa. Next, we've got the subchondral bone changes. Um, and it's the bone that's directly underneath the cartilage. Now, as the cartilage becomes thinner, there's more force that's reaching this bone, and so that impact isn't being cushioned, and the bone has to adapt to that. Um, but that abnormal loading, um, and it does this by essentially the bone gets sclerotic. It becomes denser and harder, and it produces osteophytes or bony spurs. That's the body's attempt to stabilize the joint by creating extra bone, but actually it just makes, or done not well, it makes these rugged sort of bony spurs that again can rub and cause more irritation and more inflammation. And we also see micro damage and inflammatory changes within the bone itself. Um, so for years we just focused on the cartilage, but now the researchers are starting to see that subchondral bone might actually be one of the major sources of the pain in osteoarthritis. And this is because the bone itself is the bit that contains not just the blood vessels, but the nerves. certainly more nerves and immune cells, whereas the cartilage it doesn't have that much. Um, and so it's often not the cartilage that's actually hurting. The pain's likely coming from the inflamed synovium, sensitized nerves, and pathological changes within the subchondral bone, and or I should say. Um, and so ultimately, yeah, osteoarthritis, it's not just one simple pathology. It's a process of several interacting processes that occur simultaneously and kind of feed into each other. You've got the cartilage degradation, the chronic low-grade inflammation, the subchondral bone remodeling, and then nervous system sensitization. And I'm going to get a bit more deep into that in some of the other slides. Um, And when we come to it, we'll see that acupuncture is quite a good option for this because it also doesn't treat a single pathway. But I'll leave you hanging there for now.